How to DM. All right, this is a rough subject. How to be a DM is too wide of a scope for me to elaborate on for a single video. You know, a video that I want to be like, 10 or 15 minutes, 20 tops. So it's too big. Like it is too big. It is an art form in and of itself with multiple skill sets that you need to run it. So I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going to be able to cover all of this in a single video, but I'm going to go through like as much basic stuff and give some advice and some expectations to kind of help people out. This hopefully will be good, especially for new people, but maybe even some people who've already been doing it, some old DMs. Maybe if I myself have been doing this for like 7 years now, and every once in a while I find myself on the internet looking up Reddit posts, other examples of things people do, videos online of things, just to get like a refresh of it, right? But hopefully this can be something like that for somebody. So how would I start this off, right? So we'll do it from a new person perspective, right? You have never DM'd before, ever, never. But through the roll of the dice and the will of the fates and destiny become us, you get to be DM next. Congratulations. You are doing what anyone who has played D&D before is like you should be rightfully expected to try out the other end of the spectrum. Like if you play in D&D, if you play it and you like it and you play it more than once, like you should at least DM once just to try it. You know, it's like buying Call of Duty and then only playing single player but not playing online, or vice versa. Like you're missing out on half of a game. So if you've never DM'd, you're probably bumping into one big key thing, and that is the nervousness, the nerve-wracking edge of your seat. Oh my god, what the hell do I do? I'm gonna mess it up. People are gonna like it. It's gonna be crazy. Everyone, came here expecting to enjoy a good day off, and we went through the insanity that it took to get a bunch of people who have real lives to come together and do this for however many hours. Oh my god, I'm gonna mess it up. I've never done this. Holy crap! Like you can go on and on. That nervousness, it doesn't go away. It does not leave. Like I said, I've been doing this for 7 years. I still get it. It's not as bad as it used to be, but like I still have it, and that is 7 years. That's not, a super short time. So, just embrace it. The nerve, it doesn't go away. Just know, and also know that you're not the only one who's experienced that. Every DM ever is experiencing that right now. Well, maybe right now if they're running a game. If they are, I'm extremely jealous. But anyway, it doesn't go away. So just embrace it and move on with it. As for making mistakes, yes, you're going to make them. A lot of them. Probably in a row. Congratulations. Turns out you're human like everyone else who DMs. It's just part of the process. You make mistakes. Like I said, it's an art. It is a skill set. No one is good at it right off the bat. I promise you that Matt Mercer, the masters of our craft, Matt Mercer, Christopher Perkins, Matt Colville, like they were not as good as they are now. They, in their own videos, they say the same thing. So even if you ask them or I ask them, they would back up that claim. Anywho, so you're the DM. What does that mean? Well, you don't get to be a player, but everything has pros and cons. So you are going to be absolutely fine with whatever happens. I promise. Okay. If I can do it, you can do it. Do not even worry about that kind of thing. Right. So, okay. So you're the DM now. You are, what does this mean? You're not a player. You're everything else. You are cause and effect. You can't even say that you are God, because you literally make the gods of the world. So you're even higher than that, but you also aren't any of those things, because this is a story about the players, not you. Which you have to get yourself in that mindset. It's about their experience, not yours. Though, you are also there to have fun. You are not out of that equation any more than they are. If a player's not having fun, at least you as a DM can try and remedy that. If it doesn't work out, hey, whatever. Not everyone can be satisfied. However, if you as a DM are unhappy, it affects the game as a whole, which then goes on to affect all the players. So you still have to try to... It's weird. You have to prioritize the player's happiness, but for the sake of a game, you also have to prioritize your happiness. It's a beautiful balance and a part of the nervousness. So again, embrace it. But as the DM, you are the judge, jury, and executioner of everything that happens in the game. Most of the books, like within the first few pages, right after like the thank you to everyone for helping us make this book, there's typically a paragraph that says, it's called, like, you know, this book is called a rule book or a rule book, but it's a guideline. And if at any point, you know, you find something that you don't like or that the rules don't cover, you as the DM get to make whatever call you want, and no one can stop you or get in the way of that. So remember that. Even the people who made the game acknowledge that that is a fact. Now then, what's the best setting to start playing Dungeons & Dragons? Hopefully you've actually played the game before as a player. You know, you can do it once, whatever, but multiple times to get an idea of the game, how maybe one or two classes work, paying attention to a DM and seeing how they do it, etc. You know, having a little bit of experience from the player side of things definitely helps when you try to get into being a actual DM. That's what I did. I played a lot, discovered I loved the game, then discovered there are not enough DMs in the world as compared to players, so I took out my knife, my sacrificial ritual dagger, and I plunged it into my own heart and shouted out to the void and great beyond, I wish to be a forever DM. And a ancient voice from beyond what is beyond answered and said, very well. This decision was stupid, but we hope you enjoy yourself. Roll initiative. And that's kind of how it happened. So, play with people, play the game, understand how it works a little bit, and then jump into DMing. Now, who should you DM with for your first game? Friends. Play with people you are comfortable with. Play with people that you understand a bit, who understand you a bit, who are totally okay acknowledging the idea that this is your first time, right? Playing in a friend circle is going to make that process 100 times easier. Trust me. Playing with strangers, if you're a good people person, you'll be fine. You know, if it's mostly your friends and maybe like half strangers for some reason, you know, you'll still probably be okay. Typically, even playing with strangers isn't that bad of an experience. I know there are some horror stories out there, but the thing you got to take into account is D&D, it's a very niche hobby that is slowly expanding, but you are all there for a common purpose. You are all there to be nerdy weirdos and play the game. So just run on that fact alone and have fun. Now, with that being said, every game of D&D is different. No two people have the same style. You know, you have the people who, you know, their games are more combat oriented, people whose games are more story oriented. You have the people who are more about role play and like getting into character and really pursuing their backstories and like becoming a part of the world. You have people who are super creative and just do all kinds of topsy-turvy things that keep you, the DM, just on your A game, because if you're not, you will not be able to cater to that person's craziness. Then you have the people who, I like to refer to it as an audience member, where they are 100% content with sitting there for 3 to 7 hours, not saying a damn word, and just waiting for you to talk to them about when to roll dice. I deal with like 1.5, 2 people. I know. It was a weird, yeah, just go with it. I deal with people like that all the time. I'm used to it. I very much was not when it first happened. Like, I was so worried that, like, I wasn't making the game interesting for them. I wasn't making them, you know, feel engaged. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I ended up asking one of the other players, because he knows that guy in real life. I was like, what do I do? Dude, this dude doesn't talk to me or engage. Like, is he, like, have you talked to him afterwards? Like, is everything okay? And he goes, oh, he's just like that. That's fine. Keep going. And I was just like, shrug, okay. And yeah, it hasn't fallen apart. Yeah, so as a DM, you'll run into all kinds of different players, and it's your job to find a way to cater to each of them to make sure they have a fun experience. At the same time, you'll also run into a bunch of different DMs that all DM differently, and you have to get used to those different styles of play. You know, Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins, both masters of the game. I'll give you a bonus. I'll throw Matt Colville in there too. You know, all three of them amazing at the game in their own right. They've been playing it for like decades. You know, if you ever needed people to like look up to play, go find their videos. They're brilliant. But like if you watch a couple of their videos each, you'll find out that the three of them are very different. Very, very different. You know, Critical Role obviously has the bonus of it being mostly voice actors. So the role play and the story and the emotion in that one is fucking 10 stars. Chris Perkins games I love because Chris Perkins himself, like, he doesn't get into character or like embellish the accents as much as Matt. But like, it's like every damn word he says has you engaged. And he'll say it just in his normal voice. Like, so you step in the door and there is a man. And just the way he's like building up to these kind of just really normal moments, you're just like, oh my god, tell me more. And then you have Matt Colville, who he sets up. I need to watch more of his stuff. I really haven't, so I don't have like a good pick on like what to say for this. But like from what I've seen from his games, like he plays like a war game. He plays a strategy game. He also makes books that make D&D more like a war game or a strategy game, and I love them. Go buy Strongholds and Followers. Video is not sponsored or endorsed in any way, but please go support that man. He's great. And like, oh, it's so good. And he has no issue pulling like a Kobayashi Maru on his players. Like he expects his players to think things through, and if they don't, well, this is what happens because you didn't think something through. So, you know, some people like the game hard, some people like it easy, etc., etc. So you'll run into all kinds of different stuff. So now, again, you've seen that now. What do you actually need to do? Well, first and foremost, you have to set some expectations. You need to talk to your players. Get them all together. And this is what I do, okay? I'll give you an example of what I do. I sometimes I have to do it individually, but if I can get everyone in a group, that's really easier. And we'll do it in like a one-shot format. You know, just a game that starts to finish, done, one night, over. I go up to all the players and I just ask them, what do you want to do? And I'll be like, is there like a cool location you think would be fun for a game? Is there like cool enemies you think would be nice? Is there like a specific kind of quest or plot you'd like to pursue? And then I'll tell them straight up like, okay, but just so you know, letting you know, I'm more of a combat heavy DM. This is a one shot, so the idea of political intrigue happening in a 4-hour period, not likely. Keep that in mind. You know, just set expectations. Be like, this is how I do this rule. This is how I run a game. This is how I make these decisions. This is what I expect. This is what you can expect. Set expectations. That way, before you've even played, someone can say, oh, that sounds like the game for me, I'm in. Or someone can go, sorry, doesn't sound like my cup of tea, I'm out. You know, you get to avoid the drama before there's the potential for drama. And then once you have people who are ready to go, expectations are set, the groundwork is laid for what's going to happen, you get to help them prepare. Tell them about, you know, just think of a general, quick idea that you've come up with, the elevator pitch of what you've taken from them. You know, what do you want to do? Take all of that, combine it with your own idea of what you would do to have fun with what they want to do to have fun, and boom, there's your plot for a one-shot. Now it's time to help them prepare. Give them the now complete elevator pitch of what the one-shot's going to be about. Tell them this is like what you can expect. These are the kind of people you can see. And, you know, this is where you just get to make shit up on the fly, you know, and they make a character and some classes and a background based off of that kind of shit. And then they roll into your little one-shot world and have a ball. But you as the DM need some knowledge on classes, characters, how to make characters, and then help them with that process. And then after everyone's characters are done, which is probably going to take a bajillion years, because making characters is not a slow process, especially for new people. And it's going to be a really slow process for you, because you'll probably be new to making characters, unless you've been a player for a long time. And then this is the first time you DM. But once all of that is done, then it's time for probably the hardest CR30 difficulty thing to do in D&D, which is to get multiple people who live real lives and have real world issues to come together in a single room or over the internet in a Discord call or something and hang out for 4 or more hours. That's the hardest part of D&D right there. But once all that's set up, you're ready to go. And then you roll your dice, you look at your books, you play the bounce board game of you set the scene and they respond to what they do, and you just pass that ball back and forth, and hopefully everybody has fun. Now, what kind of advice could I give you for, once the process starts, when everyone's sitting down and you go, is everyone ready? And they all nod their heads and you go, okay, now then. And then the game starts. What's some advice I have for that moment? First and foremost, again, the nervousness doesn't go away, so just stop worrying about it. First and foremost, expect everything to potentially go wrong. Okay? I've been playing for 7 years. I've played mostly my own games with people. I've played in a bunch of other people's games. Things tend to go wrong, turns out. Things do not go as planned. Why? Because this is something you'll learn as you DM. No plan survives its encounter with the player characters. No plan does. No plan. So, when you're making your game, this is a phrase I'll give you. When you're making your game and you're trying to plan things out, do not plan everything out in explicit detail and create this perfect line that they need to progress down to reach the end. Make it a crazy topsy-turvy loopy thing with potential options. Plan enough, not a lot. That's my advice to you. And how much you plan to how little you plan will change over time. I used to go crazy with planning. Now I almost hardly even do it, because I'm really comfortable with doing it now. It's something you just have to get used to and build the skills for and get comfortable with. Let's see. Don't try to be amazing. The game, the beauty of D&D is it's not like any game anywhere ever, right? In a video game, you walk up to a shop owner, a blacksmith, and you're like, hey, what's up? And your options are craft, dismantle, sell. Maybe there's a talk option where there's a pre-built-in phrase that you can say, and then there's exit. And that's it. And that's all there ever will be. Sorry. That's normal games. D&D, you could walk up to that man and be like, all right, you pull your crossbow, and you're like, all right, hold up your hands. Give me all your money. Or you walk up to him and go, Bob, dude, how's the kids? Or you can go up and be like, hey, I don't care about anything you want to do. Tell me about that guy over there. As you just point to some random-ass person. You can do... D&D it's anything and everything. The sooner you embrace that idea, the sooner you get to move on with this. So don't expect the players to say certain things or do certain things, because they're not going to do those things. That's just how player characters are. As soon... I play with people who, in real life, I have the impression of them as they're very smart, they have common sense, they're good dudes. The moment we sit down and their character sheets hit the table, logic and reason vanish. Common sense is replaced by insanity. And it's oh God, who are you people and where did those people that I walked in the door with go? It's just how it is. Other advice? Have a list of names. Just Google on fantasy name generator, or in the back of the, what is it? I think it's Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There's a list of hundreds of names. Just have a list. If your characters are in a French area, just have a list of male and female French names. So if one of your players goes, you, guy, what's your name? You just look down and go, oh, he is, that is Pierre, something like that. And then you keep going, you're on the fly, everything looks like it's real and good to go. It's awesome. Another thing, try to say yes as much as possible. When you play D&D, players want to explore and try things. They want to go on an adventure. They're here, no matter what style of play they have, they want to do stuff, right? And they can't do stuff if you say no. So try and have it in your conscience a method of creating a potential for them to do something. And then be like, yes, you can try. You know, or you get to use one of the famed DM lines where you get to look a player in the face and say, "You can certainly try." And then they're suddenly like, "Oh God, now do I even want to try this?" You know, it's just one of those things. It's one of the beautiful gems about being a DM. It's just absolutely terrifying somebody by simply responding to their question. Yeah, say yes as much as possible. And you don't just have to say yes flat. You can say something like, "Yes, but it's going to be a little difficult," or "Yes, but you got to do this first." Technically, you've said no to their initial question. But by leading with yes and then something else, you've created the potential for the outcome to achieve stuff. All right, what's next? Oh yeah, it's a game. There's no consequences. Nothing that happens there should be able to translate to real life except the experience of a good time. If you as the DM, you're going to be role-playing a lot of people, okay? You're going to be role-playing a lot of people. You also are going to be role-playing people who yell at the players. You're going to be role-playing NPCs who are not happy with the players. You're going to be role-playing NPCs who want to murder the players. Hopefully your players understand that and don't take it to heart. And they don't just look at you and be like, "Oh my God, you know, screw you." And you're just like, "Ha ha ha, wait, do you mean me or the guy?" Like, you know, make sure you establish that you're role-playing as someone before you start yelling at them and insulting them. But yeah, other than that, like, none of those consequences. It's a game. You're there to have fun. None of the consequences and terrible things that are said or done in that game should translate back into real life. It is a game. You are there for a fun time and stories to tell later. Just roll with it. Play the game. I don't know if... I mean, this video is already getting a little longer than I wanted it to. I guess I'll just have like a closing statement. I guess, I don't know. I'll end it with like a phrase, I guess. D&D is, it's like life. It's what you make it. So if you're the DM who doesn't plan at all, everything's wishy-washy and like nothing ever gets done because you haven't created the dots for them or the breadcrumbs for them to follow to make it happen, that's what you're going to get as a train wreck of the game. You spend time putting stuff together, creating the details, engaging the players, and helping them out. You're going to get a great game. Okay? You're going to get a great game. Your players also need to step up and know their characters. So a DM's job is much harder than a player's job. A player has one job, and that's to know their character. A DM has every other job that you can think of, literally, and probably not think of. I looked up the history of how the calendar was invented and why the weeks are named what they are. That was interesting. So the least a player can do to help you out, because your job's harder than theirs, and there's no argument that they could ever make against that, the least thing they could do is know their own character. Make sure they know their own character. Definitely establish that first. So yeah, you're a DM, you got the nervousness, create your game. Set the setting, create the mood, use all 5 senses to help describe it, to help them see it in their head. Be fair in your decisions and your rulings, and overall just have fun. That's where I think that I'm going to end this one. I'll probably make more videos to elaborate on certain parts and skills. DMing's a lot of skills, you know, acting, map making, role playing, thinking things out, group dynamic. There's a social thing to it. There's a little bit of math to it. Your number one skill is going to be lying to people's faces and getting away with it. Bullshitting is a DM's number one skill because it's what you're going to be doing 90% of the time. It's the ability to lie to someone and get away with it and make it sound real within the narrative that is 90% of the time what DMing is. You'll understand the moment you play, trust me. Like if you think Matt Mercer, Chris Perkins, and Matt Colville and all these people who DM, they look like they have it totally under control and everything's going according to plan, you would be a fool to think that's actually the case. I guarantee you that everything has gone wrong, everything's on fire, but they just look calm as can be. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for listening, guys. If you have any... The hell's my own jingle? I keep forgetting this. I need to quit having such big breaks in this. Anyway, if you liked it, like it. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell icon. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, and or witticisms, or stories about D&D, or subjects you'd like me to cover, please leave a comment. But until then, adios all.